Oh, no, going live. Oh, dear. Are we still live? Yes, we're alive. Yes. Okay. So I think it's a little bit behind. So welcome. Let me know in the chat whether you can see me and hear me okay. I'm in a different location. And yeah, I'll just carry on. But I'll wait for, please, somebody who is in the chat, say hello so I can see that you're all there. So let me move to the main scene because I can sort of give you an idea of roughly where I am. The SAP Developer News, this week's episode came out, of course, yesterday, as normal, on a Thursday evening, my time. And I did an item on an upcoming webinar that my good friend Tobias Gabriel is going to be running next week, actually, yeah, 25th of June. And I recorded it on the towpath outside my narrowboat. So there you can see behind me the narrowboat. I thought I'd show you a still of this picture here. I am right now, on the boat, not physically here at this location, but I'm right now behind the words fully restful. So there you go. So there's the SAP Developer News. All the links, as usual, are in, where are they? Are in a comment to the corresponding entry in the SAP Community Events page, which is here. Let me just share that in the chat as well. It's also in the description. Chiara, buongiorno to you. Thank you for saying hello. So there's a link to that thing there. Oren, hope you get better soon. Thank you, Oren. It's not anything that one gets better from. It's it's just an allergy thing. But thank you anyway for the kind words. So there, and oh yeah, so that's where I am on that narrowboat. And then I took a picture yesterday behind me. I don't know whether you can see very well. I've closed the blinds because the sun is shining through. But behind me, which is sort of on the other side of this cabin here, on the other side here, I took a picture of where I am. So behind me right now, if I open the window, open the duck hatches, that's where I can see some sheep there. And well, I don't know where the sheep are here right now, but anyway. So that's behind me. And also, I took a picture this morning, probably about 2.5, 3 hours ago. A beautiful sort of sunrise. I think that was about 2 hours ago, that one. I took a few more earlier than that. But the sun just coming up. So that's where I am at the moment. So there we go. So a little bit of insight into where I live and work from. I hope that was interesting. Good morning to Nikhil, and good evening to Nikhil, to you in Melbourne. Fantastic. Welcome to you in Melbourne. Sudarshan, hello and good morning with a coffee. Excellent. Good work. Good work, Sudarshan. And Ian S. Good morning to you. Hope your trail running is good. Thank you for the tip on the watch, by the way, the Fenix or the, what was the other one? I can't remember. But I've been looking to sort of, maybe I want to upgrade my 245. There's nothing wrong with it. I love it. But, shiny. And Ulrich, good morning to you in Frankfurt. Fantastic. Epics. Thank you, Ian. Epics. Oh, that's quite a short delay at the moment between me saying something and the chat coming back and everything. That's quite good in terms of YouTube broadcast. Anyway, so also I've got my coffee, and actually, what helps the hay fever is sticking my nose in the fumes of the coffee, sort of to block out everything. Anyway, we released another YouTube short on controlling CAP server log levels. So that is also linked in the show notes. Let's call them the show notes. They are a new YouTube short, controlling CAP server log levels. And we're going to be messing around a little bit today with a function definition, and we're going to write our own implementation for the simplest thing that could possibly work, function definition. And that reminded me that we did have a series on hands-on SAP Dev on this show way back when. I don't know when it was. In fact, let's have a look. OData, when did I last commit to that? 2 years ago. Wow, okay, 2 years. So over 2 years ago, we did a series on OData Basics on this show. And in there, that's quite interesting, there are examples of different flavors of one of the things we're going to be looking at. Somebody's just walking past at the moment. One of the things we're going to look at. So if you're interested to find out more about this, go there. So there we go. By the way, there were two questions last week or last episode that came up One was from Umamesh, Mahesh, sorry, about bringing in this repo, the CAP BTP repo. I think basically you're getting issues just generally cloning it or copying it down. So I'll put some more instructions in there, and hopefully you should be okay. And there's also a question from Vishal, which I knew I wouldn't be able to sort of talk about last week because basically it was running out of time. But in fact, I think Zahid from Solihull is absolutely right. We can check the dependency version in package.json, and I think if what you're trying to do, Vishal, is maybe update Express in the context of a CAP server, I don't think that's a very advisable thing to do. There are reasons why there are specific dependencies and specific versions pinned, for example, for dependencies. So that's probably not a good. If you're wanting to do that, I want to know A, why, and B, is there any other way of doing what you're trying to achieve? So you don't really want to start messing around with versions of packages that are that another package is dependent upon. I'm not sure what you're trying to do there. Anyway. So I can see here, Gazati is buongiorno a tutti. Buongiorno to you as well. And Prazija, good morning to you. And Matthias, good morning to you in Dortmund. Excellent. Okay, so what we want to do today in this episode, it says here, we move back to the on event and build a handler for a simple function. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Can I get rid of that? Yeah, that's fine. Where we left off last time, let me put my head down the bottom actually, was we had messed around with an after handler. Okay, and the after handler, typically for enhancing, modifying data that has already been retrieved in responding to the incoming request, often by the CAP framework itself, by that CDS application service class that I think we briefly looked at last time. So now let's just, we don't need that one. Oh, actually we do. So let's just start up CDS Watch and just have a little play to see where we were, and then we can move on, right? By the way, we love the chat, don't we? We all love chat, and we all love opinions and questions and everything. So anytime there's anything you can think of or have an issue with or have a question about, just put in the chat and we'll try to answer it. So this thing here, we were looking through some examples of after handlers in the SAP samples org on GitHub. Let's see, SAP samples there, for example. We got our code jams in there as well, but SAP samples there, we got a lot of CAP related repos, CAP there, for example. Let's do that there. In fact, I'll paste that in as well. Where's the community events? Let me add that URL. There we go. In progress. Let me go and edit my comment to add this thing here. Come on, why is it not working? Wow. There, right, and there. So that is SAP samples CAP related repos there. Perfect. I'll leave that open. I'll pin that so it's out of the way. Perfect. Okay, so we found an example of where we are not defining sort of inline an anonymous function as the handler, as the callback for the after event. Let me move that across to there a little bit. There we go. And we ended up using this thing here. Let's do that, for example, there. Let's just comment that back in and that out again. Save that. And what we did, I think, listening. In fact, let's have it the right way around. In fact, let's do it the right way around. CDS Watch. So I'll have the CDS Watch here, and we'll say list listening -c. What should we have? Curl -s local. I did it again. Localhost OData v4 bookshop books, and pipe that into JQ. There we go. Okay, fine. John Murray, good morning to you, John Murray, one and all. Fantastic. So that's what we get, and we're getting this urgency high in this sort of virtual field that we've defined, virtual element, DJ, use the right terminology, in this extra element, urgency, which we've defined as a virtual element, as in computed on the fly, basically. I think that gets CDS persistence skip. Ooh, when I'm saying I think we get, let's try it. CDS compile to YAML serve. Let's have a look to see what happens. Did I have my humming chicken? I don't know, for some reason. Tell you what, let's do, where are we? This is in books. This is in books. Orders items, bookshop orders, come on, bookshop books, kind of elements, ID, title, author, urgency, there we go. Core computed, that's right, sorry, not persistence, core computed. True, that's the annotation that gets added automatically to any element that's been defined as a virtual, because it's computed, right? Anyway, digression number one. Let's just run that again. So we have this thing, and we have also determined that we can quite nicely, let's just go to here, no, not there, quite nicely, instead of having this sort of anonymous function that just calls another function, you know, that syntactically dissolves down to just specify that, okay? And what gets passed to this, which is up there, is basically the same as what gets passed to this anonymous function, i.e. in the after event context, we get the data and we get the request. Data is the first argument and request is the second argument. All good. So what we want to do now is start having a look to see if we can define a nice simple, the simplest thing that could possibly work, Ward Cunningham, function, so that we are forced to create an on event handler. Okay, let me just save that. In fact, let's get rid of that line. Oops. I don't know. There we go. That's better formatted. And also, let me just save that and collapse that. There we go. Okay. So John Murray says, is there an official, unofficial set of best practices anywhere which define whether these things should be done via extend in CDS or inline in the service projection? That's a really good that's a really good question, John. So John is asking, I mean, I think John is probably referring partly to where we did this, right? So we've got in, let's just have a look here. Let's have a look. This is a great question. And it helps us think about, if I, how do I do this now? DB data, let's collapse that. Let's bring schema into there. And then move that down a bit so we can see most of it, right? In fact, let's have that one there. Yeah, okay, because the schema is quite big. So in our schema at the DB level, we've got the books entity defined in this namespace, org.q macro. And in our main.cds, which is in the serve directory at the service level, we've got our service definition. But here, last week, very lazily and partly deliberately as well, I used the extend to say, actually, let's take on, let's extend the books definition, the definition of the books entity in the org.q macro namespace, which is coming from org, from DB schema, which is that one there, and add another element to it. Good morning, Raphael. Good morning to you and good morning to everybody. Johnny's asking, is there a best practice or is there a set of best practices that are written anywhere? I'm not aware that there is a single contiguous set of best practices about this sort of thing. I think in many ways, and this is such a rubbish answer, but I'm going to say it anyway, it depends on the circumstance, it depends on your team layout, I guess, it depends on your project. I think one of the beauties, and also therefore one of the challenges, is that CDS as a language, or CDL, let's call it technically the right thing, is so flexible and has so many different ways of doing things that, yeah, people like John, who I know is an experienced developer, has these sorts of questions. So good morning, Sidish. Good morning to you. So I don't think there is. I think best practice, a sort of a meta best practice is, don't step on things that you don't own. Don't start modifying the things you don't own. And that was partly the reason why I did this thing here. to say, well, we've got this schema.cds, which I didn't, let's pretend I didn't create it, and I want to extend that, so I'm not going to go into this file and add something here. Well, I will do shortly, because I want to add another element, okay? And I don't want to sort of go down this digression of extend much more. That's a really rambling answer to your question, John. I think maybe that reflects the fact that there isn't a single place where all these best practices are written. There are best practices sort of, if you look at the CAPI documentation, in fact, I think in here, if we go to there, or was it there? I can't remember. Sometimes you'll see there, tips and best, was it best practice? No, there, best, I did see, best practice is there. There is a best practice for certain, but it's not comprehensive, and it doesn't cover specifically what you're talking about here. John says, yes, as we do it on a case-by-case basis, but was curious, is there an official best practice? Okay, sometimes it's actually important to know that you've not missed anything. Very good. But you get the occasional sort of best practice. Well, there's a best practice section there, but what I was looking for was there was some, you got these green blocks or these sort of yellow sort of highlighted sections in CAPI. Anyway, let's go back here. So talking of that, why don't we define a function? Now, can anybody tell me, in order to do something interesting, what I thought we could do was just add just one more element to the books entity, which is stock, right? So we'll add a stock element, integer, and we'll populate that with some values for these 3 books we've got in our books data. Where is it? Data. Let's bring that into there, for example, down there. And while I do that, put in the chat what your thoughts are, what your understanding is of the concept of actions and functions in OData. And I sort of stress OData for a reason. Actions and functions are an OData concept, but there's a reason why I say that as well. So let's come back to that. Antonio, good morning. Sorry for the delay. I do love when people come in, and apologise for coming in late. You're not late. You're just here. It's just fantastic that you're here. It's brilliant. Good morning with DJ Silent Screaming Voice. Good morning. Like that. Yavuz, good morning to you. So while I add that, put in the chat what you know about, what your thoughts are on, what your understanding of is of that's not even English, of actions and functions. And I'll do that here. Let me go to schema. Let me go down here. Maybe I should bring that. Maybe I should bring that virtual urgency in there. No, I'll leave that there for now. Let's leave that there. Let's have stock integer. What I like is that I don't have to think about aligning up these colons here, because I can just go format, because of the wonderful CAP plugin or CDS plugin for VS Code extension. Sorry, not plugin. And it does it for me. So there we go. So, and now what I'll do is I'll add to the end here stock. Let's add some data. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Obviously, we've got 42 books of that. Let's add, I don't know, 100 and maybe, 5. Right. Okay. Let's save that. And now let's see. What's going on? Oh, somebody says something as well. Let me see what's going on here first. Table log has no column names. Okay. So let's just restart that. I think it's just. What? No, stock. Did I not? I've not. What have I done, DJ? I deliberately turn off the auto save in my VS Code because I don't like things saving automatically under my nose, under my feet. And I'll say this, so stock doesn't exist still. So let's save that again. That should reload, and that's fine. So there we've now got. Don't you love CAP? Don't you love CAP? It's amazing. They reload everything. So Chanakia, good morning to you, and CRUD. Okay. So CRUD is Oren's response, I think, to OData actions and functions. Georgios, good morning, Georgios. Functions are idempotent. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, okay. Let's just pause that for a second. Janakia says to add behavior that cannot be achieved by CRUD on entities. Kiara says actions modify data, so are mapped into post. Functions don't modify data, so are mapped into. What a team! What a team! Yes, exactly. So just to start with what Oren said about CRUD, question mark, and then what Chanakia said, actions and functions are basically, I always sort of think of them as orthogonal, as in not going in the same direction as the rest of what OData is all about, which is a RESTful protocol, right? It's a RESTful protocol. Functions and actions are not RESTful. They have properties that Georgios has referred to, and also Chiara. So functions are not allowed to have side effects. Modifying data is a side effect, for example. Actions may have side effects. And because actions may have side effects, in order to call an action, you need to use the HTTP post verb or method, which from an expectation point of view makes a lot of sense. But functions, because they don't have any side effects, you call them with get. Okay. Now, there's a difference, isn't there, between, and again, this is a digression, but there's a difference between the concept of a side effect and the concept of idempotent. Okay. So I'm not sure. I mean, yes, I think functions by definition, because they don't have any side effects, they are idempotent, i.e. you can call them multiple times and it will have the same effect. That's what idempotent means, basically, the same power. But also, it's not just read-only. It's not just sort of things that don't have side effects that are idempotent. Delete is idempotent. Put is idempotent. Get is idempotent, effectively. But delete and put do have side effects. So there's a difference there. Anyway, so fantastic. What a team. What a team combination of answer there. So what we're going to do is we're going to define a function. Now, while I'm messing around, in the chat, put what you think the difference between a bound function and an unbound function is. And there's also the concept of a bound action and an unbound action. So while you put in the chat what your thoughts are on bound versus unbound, but can get actions have a body? Matthias says. Well, that's a good question. However, are you sure you mean get action? Because you can't invoke, or you can't invoke an action with get. You have to invoke it with a post. And that is actually policed by the CAP framework. So an action can very much have a body. Yes. Ian says that this is your object-oriented class brain coming out, Ian. Instance versus static. I think we might have used this sort of this analogy before. Yes. So whether it's an action or a function, if it is an unbound action or function, the action or function is called not in any context of any particular element of data, any particular record, any particular entity. Instance of entity. A bound function or a bound action basically is an action that you call upon a specific entity. So Chanakia says bound operations are dependent on entity. Yes, exactly. And Oren, list and detail pages where detail pages are bound to a record ID. Oren, not quite, but I do thank you for putting in the chat your thoughts, because there's, we're all learning together, right? So it's more about what, for example, what Ian and Chanakia have been talking about in the chat, which is whether an action or a function is directly, whether the invocation of said action or function is directly related to, bound to, within the context of a specific entity. For example, this entity here or this entity here, for example. So what we're going to do, hope that explains things. Chanakia, unbound are static operations. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Chanakia. Fantastic. Maybe I'll do a live stream, like a Hands on SAP Dev episode, where you run it and I'll watch, because you're all amazing. Let's define a function. Let's define a function. Let's just there's too much going on here. Can I make the font one smaller? Let me know if it's still okay to see the font there. We don't need that data anymore. Let's go here and add in our service a function. I'm going to put it down here sort of because it's separate as an unbound function. And I was thinking about this morning, And we'll just do something simple. That's why I put stock here. We'll do something simple. We can see we've got stock here, stock 42, stock 100, stock 5. So why don't we have a function that will return us the total stock in our bookshop, as in just count up all of the stock values, all of the values for the stock element for each of the entities, right? And add them together and return that. Okay, so it's going to be an integer we want to return. So let's call it total stock. We're not going to take, so this is where you would, for example, where is that thing there? There we go. Examples of OData. Let's open that there. There, if you want to see how to define, excuse me, here are there's a bound action definition. Look at the inside the actions thing. We'll maybe look at that next week or the week after, I don't know. And here is a bound function, and here is an unbound function, and here's an unbound action. Okay, so you can sort of stare at that a little bit and see the difference in how they're expressed. Notice here, for example, that in this submit order action, we're expecting we want to have 2 arguments given to us, and we're going to have got parameters there, product and quantity for those arguments. But here, for example, we don't have any values that we're expecting in the call, so we just have an open and close bracket. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, so we'll say here total stock returns integer. Okay, now if we look at the metadata, we can see there function imports. Remember function import? That's such an old OData term. Our function imports existed in OData v2, didn't they? So there we go. We got that. This is not all about OData, but there it is, right? Function import total stock, and then down here we get here function name is bound. False. Not bound, an unbound function. Return type integer. Okay, so shall we try and call it without having defined a handler for it? Right, let's just call it. Why don't we do that here? Let's keep calling that one. Let's have another one here. Listening. Again, this is the same. Maybe I should do a little alias for this. Same pattern all the time. So when the listening file changes, which is when the server starts listening again after being restarted, then do this, which is basically curl silent local host 4004 book OData v4 books bookshop total stock. And how you call it is sort of how you'd expect. Let's put it in quotes because to sort of escape the because that bracket's a bit weird in shell. They're sort of they mean things. So let's put that in. Not there. Sorry. There we go. Curl s. There we go. Localhost. So all we're doing is saying whenever this thing restarts. Let me put my head at the top again. There. Make a call to localhost OData v4 bookshop total stock. Okay, and don't pass anything in the thing. Don't pass anything in the thing. Very, very descriptive, DJ. And let's see what happens. Enter. Let's pass that into JQ as well, so we can see that a little bit better. That's partly why I put the bash -c, so we can put like a pipeline thing. JQ enter there. There we go. So is that expected? Yes, it is expected. Service bookshop has no handler for total stock. I mean, you can't get clearer than that, can you? Thank you, Cap Server. Thank you, Cap Server. And we get an error 501. That's quite interesting. Yes, because it's not our fault as the caller that there's no handler. So we don't get a 400 series error, right? I would guess also, I wonder if you see the... yeah, so let's just do that again and get rid of that for a second. Yeah, there you go. Look, 501 not implemented. 501 not implemented. I mean, how chef's kiss is that, right? It's a 500 series error, which means the server blames itself. It doesn't blame the requester, in which case it would be a 400 series. It blames itself. Well, I haven't got to handle this. Sorry. Bang, not implemented. So do that. Ooh. There. No, come on, DJ. What's going on? I've got too many things. There we go. Curl. Yeah, okay. By the way, did you notice the option I gave to curl to tell it to show me the headers in the response. Put in the chat what you saw, what you think that is, because it's sometimes super useful. And the reason we were getting an error with the JQ is because, of course, those headers come out as well as the JSON, and of course we're telling JQ to parse those headers, and the headers are not JSON, and therefore JQ goes what? There. Okay, so Georgia, good spot there, Georgios. Yes, in fact, that was so I put two options together. Of course, in any sort of normal shell, a proper shell like Bash. You can have different options, and many options are sort of single characters with a dash. So dash I was using, and I'm using dash I here, look. Dash S, but you can also have dash I. And you can compact them up. So you have dash and then I, S, and all these single character things. That, what you put there, dash IS, basically is short for dash I, dash S. So yes, exactly. Perfect. So let's start adding a handler. Let's, help the server out. And this is where we start to think back to what we looked at before, which was this.on. Remember? And the this.on, where's the after? Oh, look at that. After. On, before, after. Yes, it's the S. Perfect. The S. So, Georgios, this is exactly what I love, right? So people put in the chat what you think, what your thoughts are, etc., etc. The dash S is silent. And what that does is when you, okay, that's a good sort of, not backronym, but yeah, that sort of makes sense that you're saying that. However, let's do that. Okay, if we say curl dash, let's do that, curl local host. It's only when I'm doing it on the live stream, but lolcat, odata v4 bookshop books. If I do that, we just get the data. But if I pipe that then into some other downstream sort of, pipe the standard out into the standard in of another thing, what we get is curl gives us also some information on, what's happening, like a progress bar thing. Okay. Now, if I say minus S for silent, it will suppress any occurrence of this progress bar. Okay, so it's nice and neat, and all we get is the JSON output, the response output. That's what that does. And then we can also do minus I there, like that. Let's just put that at the top there. Curl minus I, what that will do is it will give us the output, but it also will give us the headers. Okay, Sudarshan, S stands for dash dash silent. Exactly, curl dash dash help. Will that tell us there? Silent, there we go, S, silent. Wow, amazing, silent mode. However, if we do minus I and pipe it into JQ, of course, it's not going to work because JQ is like trying to parse this stuff. And we can't parse that stuff. But we notice we didn't do the dash S, so we still see this thing here. Does that make sense? Anyway, that's why I do dash S, to keep it nice and neat. So where were we? Go to there, listening, and we'll have silent. There we go. Perfect. Brilliant digression. Thank you, Georgios, for taking part, and also Sudarshan as well. Fantastic. So 8:34. Okay, we've got some time. Now, if you remember in the serve.on before after, these things take up to three parameters. Expect three arguments. The event, for example, read. The entity for which that is relevant, and the handler. Okay? As in the anonymous function, or the function reference. Let's call it like that. Let's call it that way. Let's say it that way. TJ, come on. Because this after function here is related to an event, read, relating specifically to the book's entity, we use this second parameter here, right? Notice that that's got a question mark, which basically means, it's optional. It may or may not be there. It may or may not be required. Okay. By the way, we also taught, didn't we, episode or two ago, about, somebody said, put in the chat if you're here or if you remember it, somebody said, what about not using, a raw string as the reference to the entity, but using the object reference, CDS entities. Does anybody use that? Maybe we should do that as well. Put in the chat if we should do that. But we'll keep it with because I wanted to keep things simple earlier on, so I've just kept it simple with just using the literal reference to the entity name itself. Anyway, with this stop on. In this case, what is the event? Please do it. Stubbs, welcome Stubbs. Please do it. Okay, we will. Right, let's do that then now. Let's just do that there. Do we need that anymore? Do we need that for reference? Total stop. Let me put that over there. There. Okay, that's perfect. That's better. Right. So a lot of the time you'll see when you read through, and I do encourage you to read through examples of CAP, CDS definitions and JavaScript implementations and Java implementations for that matter. You learn a lot, and we looked at a few last time, didn't we? So why don't we have const, this is what you'll see a lot of, const, something like that, something in there, right? Let me put xxx because ... means something. And then CDS entities, and then more often than not, you'll have, for example, bookshop, the namespace or the service, okay? And this is destructuring. This is, yes, exactly. So, Thang, is that how you pronounce your name, Thang? Maybe there's that accent means I have to pronounce it differently. Tell me if it is. So John Murray says, I find the type helping is very useful when using the object references. Yes, exactly. That's one advantage of types there, but let's not go down that avenue again, John. I know you're not bringing that up and everything, but for that debate. Anyway, DJ, come on. So what? In fact, yeah, I'm trying to. I know it's 8:38 now. I'm trying to rush through this, but actually, here's a digression that I think I might allow myself to take. It's a digression into finding out what the heck this is all about. How does this work? What are we getting here? What's happening? Should we do that? Should we digress into, and we'll use the CDS REPL. What is the CDS REPL? CDS REPL. In fact, let's look it up on. I don't want to quite there. Let's look it up on the help thing there. REPL. Come on. REPL. What's going on? REPL. There we go. CDS command line interface. CDS REPL. There. CDS REPL. To use CDS REPL to live interact with Node.js APIs. I always think that whenever there's a REPL, put in the chat what you think REPL stands for. Whenever there's a REPL in a language, it's absolutely wonderful to get to have some level of comfort using it. Now, I'm not quite there yet. I've not used the REPL that much, but I want to use it more. So let's do that now. Has anybody in the chat used the REPL? One of the things we saw in the output of the help was this using CDS, testing with CDS test is this. And this is the magic that lets us embrace all the things in the REPL. Okay, so Falcan says, no, thank you. That's good. That's a good answer. So maybe we should do. Georgios, the good old reading evaluate. Yes, the good old read, evaluate, print, loop. Exactly. That's what REPL stands for. I think it probably comes, in my brain, I always think that it relates to the context of one of the most beautiful languages, Lisp, right? Which is, a language invented in 1958, I think. Created in 1958. DJ, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't digress down that rabbit hole. We're already down a rabbit hole already. So John says, read, evaluate, print, loop, I think, although I've not used one in years. ENS says, used with Python. Exactly. The Python REPL is beautiful. And it allows us to sort of explore in real time stuff. And with languages like Clojure, Clojure, there's a REPL, which I found absolutely, you could connect to a live running server and manipulate things and everything. It's amazing. But yeah, it comes from, I think, the Lisp. Okay, perfect. Ian says, agree. I'm not sure what you're agreeing to, but I'm going to take that you're agreeing to. We should go into playing around with the REPL a little bit because we can then find out what the heck this CDS.entities is. And here, using CDS testing REPL, you can use CDS testing REPL, for example, by running this from your command line into cap samples. CDS REPL var test equals await CDS test bookshop. Okay. So in fact, let's do that. Let's do exactly that. I've no idea whether that's what we want. What's going on here? But let's try it. Let's bring that up here. Let's kill that. Get rid of that. Let's get that there. Let's do it there. Clear. CDS REPL. Okay. Now what do we do? So agree with Python REPL being very good. Yes. Let's paste that in. var test equals await CDS test bookshop. Okay. Yes, bookshop. Now. Okay. Why is that happening? Well, this is because it sort of tells us here, try this in the context of cap samples, which is here, cloud cap samples. And notice that this particular repository, this repo in SAP samples, is a so-called mono repo. It even says here, find here a collection of samples for cap organized in a simplistic mono repo setup. And a mono repo is basically, where is that linked to? All in one mono repo. Each sample subdirectory essentially is a standard npm package, some with standard blah, 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 blah. So basically what that means is in this particular repo, cloud cap samples, we have multiple folders, directories, bookshop, bookstore, data viewer, Fiori, loggers, media, orders, reviews, test, all these individual things, reviews for example, each of those is a self-contained cap project with its own package, with its own serve, DB, etc. Right? And same for example, bookshop. There, DB, serve, test, etc., etc., etc. So what I think is happening is that this is a reference to this subdirectory. So in fact, what we should do here, what can we go there for, is just CDS test and not refer to any subdirectory. Amazing, it's working. It's working. So what is it doing? What is it doing? It's starting up the cap server. And in fact, it's also, let's do that. Get rid of that. Let's do that there. Fine. So it started up the cap server, and it started the cap server up on, interestingly, I've not noticed this before, on a random port. Who here has attended, I know Matthias you have, who here has attended the service integration CodeJam with cap? We played around with mocking in an external service, and we see CDS mock, it will pick a random port rather than 4004. It's doing that here. Interesting. Which makes sense, you know, because we want to possibly run a REPL and run CDS test alongside and at the same time as, in parallel to, our already existing, maybe, CDS watch, our running CDS watch. So we don't want the ports to clash, so we can run both at the same time, right? I guess that's the reason. What do you think? So now we've got the prompt back. Okay. Notice also that we got the prompt back. So if we did this, let's go out there again. If we did this CDS REPL and did that again, and just did this CDS.test, we don't get the prompt back because everything in Node.js is sort of asynchronous. Everything is an event. So we've got to await it. So we can just press return there, right? But let's just do the best practice here and do that again and say await. We don't even need to assign it to anything. Await CDS test. There we go. Okay. So what gets assigned to test in the previous invocation is all this stuff here, which is basically the cap server. Okay. Now we've got that. We have access to the CDS facade, right? Oh, Yavuz says it starts a new CDS watch compile locally. It starts a new CDS, it starts a new cap server. Yes, it starts a new cap server. It's not so much a CDS watch has the connotations. It's important to remember that CDS watch is also a design time thing, you know, a development time thing. And CDS watch will check for changes to files and then restart. This doesn't do that, of course, because you're in the REPL. You don't want it restarting under your feet. Hello, Dennis, and welcome. Welcome. It's too much coffee. So, CDS.entities. Let's just put that and see what happens. What the heck is that? What the heck is that? Well, first of all, that's JavaScript. That is JavaScript. It's a function definition, isn't it? Look, it's a fat arrow function definition that takes one parameter, NS, namespace maybe. And if there's no namespace, this is a ternary operator. Look, question mark, colon. If that condition is true, then children, otherwise this children of NS filter, etc., etc. But we don't have to worry about that. If we have a look at the documentation, we can infer that CDS entities return something that is iterable, return something we can sort of iterate over. For x in CDS entities, I don't know, console.log x, what's going to happen? Now we're starting to get a feel. We can sort of, this is the magic of any REPL, and specifically the magic of the CDS REPL. We can sort of get super close to the inner workings of, to the brains, to the heart of what's in our CAP server. Okay, now if we say here, I don't know, CDS, I don't know, will this work? Entities, books. Now, why did that work? What did I do? Is this worth it? Is this worth like continuing on to understand? I know that I did ask a question and somebody said, yes, do it, please do it. Stubbs says, please do it. Stubbs, I'm going to blame you in the nicest possible way that we're going down this rabbit hole here, which I think is really interesting. Visas, welcome to you in BKK, Thailand. Hello, everyone. I forgot that we have a CAP B2B today. What a shame. We'll catch up at the beginning. Okay, no problem at all. I wish you a lovely evening in... excuse me, in Bangkok. But notice, right, this is an iterable, and it felt like, given what it's supposed to contain and deliver to us, it's going to be sort of an object-based iterable. So we can say, give me the value of the books property in this iterable, in this object. And there we go. Look, entity. Also, do you recognize that? Do you recognize that? Check it out. CDS compile. Have I got bat here? No. CDS compile to YAML serve. Oh, in fact, bent books. DB schema. Can we do that? There, look at that. Look. Wait. Where is it? Authors. Where is books? There we go. Look. All Q macro books. Entity kind. They're books. Basically, we get the season representation of the book's entity. Okay, and then we can refer to, we can use that to refer to, do all sorts of things. In fact, interesting to see inside CDS. Exactly, it is inside Stubbs. It is interesting to see inside of CDS. So we get what is it? It's an entity. What kind of thing is it? It's an entity. Does it include anything? Now, what does that mean? What do you think that means? If we say more db schema.cds, we can see here it has this aspect from here, aspect CUID, and it includes org.qmacro, so it includes that. So because that there, CUID is org.qmacro CUID. So we understand that. And what are the elements in it? And this is why I keep forcing myself to say the word elements, because that's the proper technical term for the fields, basically. What elements has it got? It's got an ID element, and the ID element is straight from the CUID there. Title there. Author, it's an association. We get all that wonderful goodness describing the association. And we get the author ID. Now that is an element that has been sort of created for us because this is a managed association. So it'll create this author underscore ID for us automatically. It's got stock and it's got this urgency thing, virtual, true, core computed, true, etc., etc. Maybe we'll come back to the REPL. Let's have a little bit of a sneak peek. Select, or even better, select, because we're gonna want to do some CQL, aren't we, to sort of resolve this total stock. So let's just put the tiniest toe in the water. Select from. Can we do this? CDS entities. Let's just repeat what we have there. Books. Is that going to do anything? Let's see how it happens. It generates a query for us. Remember what we said about the fact that everything is asynchronous? If we say await Let's see what happens. You ready? So we can, with the REPL, we can start interacting with the guts of everything. Okay, so we'll maybe use this when we come to properly fulfill the implementation for our total stock. Okay, so John Murray says, sorry, yes, when I said type helping, that probably wasn't the right terminology. This is why I referred to the available properties. Yes, exactly. No, I knew what you mentioned. Yes, but thank you for the clarification. Okay, so there's the REPL. So now, going back to Stubbs' request for us to do that, we've got here const books. Who knows what, I mean, what we could do is say const books equals CDS entities bookshop books. Could we do that? Let's see. In fact, let's see. Const books equals CDS entities books. What? Oh, sorry. CDS entities bookshop, because it's the bookshop namespace. Books. Let's see if that works. Books. Yes. So we can do that, right? Books. Now, oops, like that. Now that's okay. And we all understand what that is. You know, it calls, it sort of returns the whatever is the CDS entities for bookshop, all of the things, the iterable, but then says, just give us the one that is keyed with books, right? The JavaScript destructuring. JavaScript destructuring MDN. Mozilla Developer Network is great for documentation on JavaScript destructuring. Maybe I'll put that in there as well. JavaScript destructuring there. Put that in, I'll save that in a minute. Where are we? There. Oh no, we were there, sorry. There. Destructuring assignment. Have a play with this. It's very, very powerful. You can sort of overuse it, but it's extremely powerful. So if you've got an iterable or an object that you, for example, or an array or something like that, you want to pick something out of nicely, you can use destructuring. Destructuring is a concept that's not specific to JavaScript. I mean, there's destructuring in all sorts of different languages. You know, well, I'm not even going to list them. There's too many to list. So we can say here, books, like that. Okay, so that's a different syntactical way using destructuring assignment of getting a constant called books and having the value of that constant to be that lovely season definition on, you know, the object with small o inside the CAP server that represents the books entity in the service. Does that make sense? Dwight says so. Oh, message retracted. Okay, so that's that. So now, theoretically, let's just bring back our test, a sort of, you know, ongoing test here. Bookshop books. There we go. Is that still work? We've not done anything yet. Oh, I'm not reading CDS Watch. There we go. CDS Watch. Handle to be. Oh, what's going on? Let's comment that out. Of course, there. There we go. Okay, fine. So now we should be able to say that, shouldn't we? As in, this books is a reference to this thing here. Let's save that and see if it restarts successfully. And yes, so it's good. So that's a very, very long-winded route to sort of, I can't bite here. Oh yeah. Very, very long-winded way of getting to the fact that we've now got, and we're doing what we see in lots of CAP service examples of having a proper object reference, and we're going to use that as well in our CQL later on. But let's just, you know, we've got 5 minutes. Let's just do something stupid, the simplest thing that could possibly work, right? If we said, oh, let's just leave that there. Can we do it? Can we get another terminal in without being too small? Where's my head? Oh, the top there. Perfect. Let's have that there, and books. Bookshop total stock. Let's put that in quotes as well. Okay, we got it. So Dwight says, so books at line 2 has only the CDS definition of books, or does it hold the actual data? Great question, Dwight. Great question. It is just the definition. It doesn't hold the data, but we can refer to the definition in a select statement like we did just here. Where is it? There. To get to the data. Okay. Okay, you're welcome. So that was quick. Wow, the delay, the YouTube delay is really, really short today. It's brilliant. What we're doing, going to there. Yeah, well, let's implement this now. Let's implement this. Let's comment this back in again. Let's have an error. Let's just create an error. Save. Bang. Error. Expected argument. That's another nice thing about this listening plugin. Even though I wrote it myself, but it's very simple. But it really helps me. If I get an error on the server, it doesn't try to, reload, re-request the data because the server's not started even listening. It's failed before the listening. So this on that we do total stop. That is the event. That is the event, and that's the beauty of CAP. One of the many beauties of CAP. Everything is an event. So read is an event, a standard event, right? CRUD type thing. But total stock is also an event, right? You get that? Total stock, and because total stock in this particular case is well, actually, I just forget I said that in this particular case, but total stock is not a standard CRUD event relating to an entity, so we're going to miss out. Where's the thing there? Not there. We're going to miss out this second parameter, this optional parameter, and just go straight to the handler, okay? Because it's not related to to handling a read or an update or a whatever of an entity, a standard entity. So let's go back here and say, let's have an anonymous function. What's the simplest thing that could possibly work? Let's put some date, put a value in, right? We don't care what comes in, and we'll just hard code what goes out. So that's the simplest thing. Let's try it. Save. Starts up. Value 99. So we can see the total stock. So yes, Ian, it is unbound. Exactly, Ian. It is unbound. In fact, let me just show you here. Where is it? If we have a look at for example, here we've got a bound function there, address line. If we look at the address line handler in main.js, where is it? Address line. You can see, maybe that a bit bigger. You can see. There's the equivalent of what we've done with total stock. But here, we've got a function, address line, but in this case, it relates to, it's bound to. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, so 8:58. Well, that'll do. Actually, finally, I do an episode where I'm not going to the last second. We've got a minute to go, 2 minutes to go. So let's leave that there. We've got the definition of, here, an unbound function. Very simple one, doesn't take any parameters at all and just returns an integer. And we've got the simplest implementation for that function that could possibly work, just to return some static data. What I like to see sometimes is, that's nice, but I even like that. Oops. I even like that, which you'll see sometimes. Underscore. Come on. Bang. That still works as well. Remember what we said about underscore is a convention. It's still a valid sort of parameter name, but it's a convention that if you see an underscore, it means there's a parameter here, but I don't care about what it is. Okay, but notice that VS Code complains about it because it's saying you've defined that, but you've never used it. So let's just change that back to there's no parameters. Okay. Right. Next week, we'll carry on. We'll carry on and we'll start using what we've learned in the REPL and play around with the REPL more to then go and work out how to add up all the stock of all the books and return that. Okay. Yeah, that's it. So have a great rest of Friday. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week. Bye for now.